Hello friends, welcome to the ninth part of the best games of Paul Morphy series. The game which we are going to see is truly a beautiful game. In this game, Paul Morphy gives one sacrifice after another. His every move is a threat and he finishes his opponent in a good style. Well, if I tell you that this game was played actually in a blindfold simul, you will be surprised. Yes, in 1858 when he was in London, Paul Morphy gave Simul against 8 players and this game is one of them. And it is truly an amazing game because the way Morphy played was truly amazing. So without further delay, let's get started with this game. In this game, Paul Morphy was white, his opponent James Freeman was black. They started with e4, e5 and now Morphy plays bishop to c4. Well, this is bishop's opening, bishop to the c5, and here Paul Morphy plays in Ivan's gambit style b4, offering his opponent a pawn that is on b4 to get more activity in the center of the board. After c3, his idea is to play d4 and white will get good play in the center of the board. Well, his opponent did not capture the pawn. He plays bishop to the b6 and here Morphy develops his piece with knight to the f3. Black plays d6. His idea is to bring the bishop out and here Morphy plays in his trademark style, grabbing the center as quickly as possible, d4. And black plays e into d4, white plays knight into d4. Everything is normal. Black develops his piece, knight to the f6, attacking the pawn on e4. So what to do? Well, we should just support the pawn. That's what Morphy did. Black castled, white also castled. And now in this position, black was a little bit greedy, you can say, or maybe a little bit tempted to capture the pawn on e4. Well, his idea is after capturing on e4, if white captures it back, he will play d5 and he will recover the piece because these two pieces will be attacked by the pawn. So that is a true story, nothing wrong in this. But Morphy was very alert. He understood that okay, everything is hanging on this d5 pawn. So what to do? You should attack. You should give threat to your opponent as much as possible. So he plays bishop to the g5, developing a piece with the tempo. Always remember, whenever you can develop a piece, you should develop, and that too with the tempo. Here black should play queen to the d7, supporting the pawn on d5, and here maximum white can play is like maybe bishop to the b5, again threatening the queen, then maybe c6, then knight to the c5, bishop into c5, d into c5, and after c into b5, this position looks a little bit equal because on the board you can see opposite color bishops are there. The knight will come on c6 and this knight on d4 will be exchanged, and usually opposite color bishops endgames are equal. So I will say that this position is equal. Well, his opponent had some other idea in the position. He played queen to the e8. Well, why is he playing queen to the e8? He is not even supporting the pawn on d5. We will see. After bishop into d5, his idea was to play c6. And now if you move the bishop, let's suppose to the bishop to the b3, then he will just capture queen into e4 and he will recover the piece and everything will be normal. But Morphy had seen this thing. He plays another move which gives a threat. As I mentioned earlier, every move is a threat. So he plays rook to the e1, threatening knight to the f6 check, because if you capture on c into d5 in this position, white will play knight f6, giving a fork as well as attacking the queen with the rook, and maybe he will capture with the pawn and then we will win the queen. So black cannot really capture on d5. He still needs to wait, and in this position finally he plays queen to the d7, going away from this file which was controlled by the rook indirectly. But now here is Morphy going to get settled for something normal move like bishop to the b3? Obviously not. He is not going to play bishop b3. He is going to play a move which will shatter black's king side, and he played knight to the f6 check. Now he is giving a check as well as attacking the queen. So it is forced for black to capture the knight, and after this move he plays bishop into f6. Now Morphy's idea is quite clear. He wants to play queen to the d2 and queen g5 and it's a check and mate. Or maybe he can just play queen h5, again threatening these things, and it is leading to a checkmate. Or he even has the idea to play rook e3 and rook g3. Several threats are there against the black's king because it is completely naked. Well, here you can say that why not capture the bishop on d5? Well, black can play bishop queen into d5, but here as I mentioned the rook lift will come. the rook will be coming on g3, and there is no satisfactory way in which black can save that thing. Maybe he must give up the queen by queen to the d6, rook to the g3, queen into g3, h into g3, and this position is completely winning for white. So he did not play this thing. Already black is in trouble, and here he plays queen to the d6, threatening to capture the bishop on f6. Well, what to do in this position? You cannot really, okay, you can play queen f3, this kind of a move, but if you play queen to the f3, then maybe black can play c into d5 in this position, or even I will say still you don't have this queen g3 check, queen g4 check, so this is not really helping you. So here what to do? Well, Morphy was very alert for the tactics, and he understood that if black doesn't have any attack on the f6 piece, then he can actually go for queen h5 or queen d2, this kind of threats, and he places his one piece in between queen and the bishop, that he plays knight to the e6, again giving a piece without caring about the pieces. His piece on d5 was already hanging, now his knight is hanging. What's on earth is going on? Well, if you look at this game objectively, bishop e6 was much more stronger move, because after bishop into e6, queen d2 is a good threat, and there will not be any tactics which came in the game, because bishop f6, bishop f5, queen g5, bishop to the g6, and knight f5 with the threat of knight e7, black is completely lost, and the queen is also being attacked. So this was a simpler way to play the game, and which would have won the game immediately. But okay, knight e6, the move which Morphy played, is also amazing. After knight to the e6, black in this position played bishop into e6, and now you have two moves here, queen h5 and queen to the d2, and only one move is the best move. Other move will give black a great chance to come back in the game. Well, maybe as this was blindfold game, Morphy was not able to play the best move. Actually, in this position, queen d2 was the best move, because you want to control this diagonal also, and you don't want black to come on f4 square or attack the bishop on f6. And we'll see what really happens. If queen into d5 is played in this position, we can simply play queen h6, and there is no way black can save the mate on g7. And if he plays the move which is a little bit surprising, that is bishop into f2, because there is a very subtle threat. If you play king into f2 in this position, then black can actually play queen d5, because after queen to the h6, queen f5 check, king g1, and queen g6 will come. This queen f5, queen g6 maneuver is really important. That's why black is giving up his bishop on f2, and obviously we cannot really capture on f2. We need to play something like king to the h1, but this will give a little chance for black to save after bishop h4, queen h6, bishop into f6, queen into bishop to the e4, and rook to the d8. Well, this position still white is winning with a series of moves like bishop into h7, king to the h8, and now bishop to the f5, king to the g8, and now another good move, that is rook into e6, not fearing about anything, just sacrifice one after another. And here black can play f into e6, then you can play bishop to the h7 check, king to the f7, then bishop g6 check, king g7, and queen to the h7 check, and this is almost a checkmate. After this check, and it's a mate. Well, this was a very long variation, I will say, but still it is worth looking at. So the idea of showing you this bishop into f2 sacrifice is very important, because in the game also this could have been coming. Well, in the game he played queen to the h5, and this is a little bit mistake. As I mentioned, queen f4 can be a good move in this position, and here black needs to find not only queen f4 but also the next move, and he misses this chance. He plays bishop into f2 in the game, thinking that if white captures here, then queen to f4, king g1, and queen into f6 is all worries will be gone, because the bishop is the monster bishop on f6. But he did not go for it. Means Morphy did not play king into f2, he played king h1. Well, just to let you know, in this position black had a good move, that is queen to the f4, threatening queen into f6 as well as the pawn on f2. And here again you need to play a good move, that is rook into e6, and here black must find out the best move in this position, that is knight to the d7, because it's quite clear that you cannot capture the rook on e6, because after f into bishop into e6, rook to the f7 is the only move, and after queen into f7 it's a check and mate. So knight to the d7 is the only move in this position, which is a very difficult to see while playing queen to the f4. Well, we'll get back to the game with bishop here in this position. After queen to the h5, bishop into f2 was played, and as Morphy was very alert, he plays king to the h1, and now this is safe position for white and he is almost winning. Well, here in this position, black finally understand that queen should come on the king side. He plays queen to the f4, but this is already late. Now what will you play? As I mentioned in the previous move, yes, that was rook into e6 move. Now in this game you can see sacrifices are showering on black, and it's almost very baffling for black to play in this position. He's already lost because f into e6 you cannot really play. After bishop into e6, rook to the f7, queen into f7 is a check and mate, and well, black plays knight d7 but is too late, and Morphy consolidates his position with bishop to the b2. Here bishop to the g5 was also one of the options for white, but okay, bishop to the b2 is also good enough to win the game. And after bishop to the b2, the game goes on to a victory position for white. After bishop to the d4, final mistake in the position by black because he wanted to block this diagonal, but actually this is not going to end because to this d4 bishop there is only one piece which is supporting, that is the queen on f4, and Morphy understood this thing. The queen is actually overloaded, supporting the bishop as well as supporting the g5 square, g4 square, so that he will not get checkmated. And Morphy plays a silent move, that is g3, attacking the queen, and after any move from black side, black is just lost. Even if he plays queen to the d2 in this position, after queen g4 check, the king can go to this square, but after bishop into d4, he is just simply lost because we can play rook e7. Now this queen g7 threat is also coming, and black cannot really save everything. He is pieced down also. So, but in the game, black decided to go into the endgame, which was pretty lost for him. After knight to the f6, g into f4, knight into h5, bishop into d4, and here knight into f4, rook to the g1 came. These bishops are pretty like a monster bishops. Knight g6 was played. Now black is attacking actually two pieces since long, so white decides to give up the piece. Rook into g6, h into g6, and now another good move, rook into g6, because this pawn on f7 is a pinned pawn. King to the h7, after rook to the g7, king h6, he just saves the bishop with bishop to the e4, and now this is simply a winning position because we have these two bishops plus this rook on the 7th rank. Our king is also not so weak, it is quite good, and black's king is obviously is completely naked. And there are some moves which was played in the game, but those moves are not that important. I'll just go through the game just for your clarity. What happened: f5, bishop d3, b6, rook g3, rook f7, bishop to the e5, rook e8, bishop f4 check, king here. Now he plays rook to the g5, threatening to win the pawn on f5. He gives one check, king to the g2, rook g7, and now bishop into f5 check, king h8, and now h4. The pawn on h file is now going to proceed. He plays rook into g5, bishop into g5, rook e8, king f3, and black throws in the towel. Finally in this position, well, you can see that right from the start, white player like Morphy gave one threat another after on each and every move, and he was not even shy to sacrifice his pieces. So I really love this game, the way Morphy played, and I hope you also enjoyed this game. You will share this game with your friends also, and if you are not subscribed to my channel till now, do subscribe. I have already analyzed 8 games of Morphy in this series. Do look at those games, and we will meet again in the last part of this Paul Morphy series. Till then, take care and goodbye. Thank you very much.